Jacob's family has finally arrived in the hostile territory of Canaan, pitching their tents and settling into the promised landscape. They carry a specific divine mandate. They are to remain a distinct, set-apart nomadic tribe, preserving their unique identity so they can eventually serve as a blessing to the entire world. That fragile isolation ends when Jacob's daughter Dinah ventures out from the camp. A local Canaanite prince named Shechem abducts and assaults her. This single crime puts a target on the camp. The chosen family is small, surrounded by entrenched walled cities, and now thrust into a conflict that threatens the physical survival of their entire lineage. Strangely, the attacker doesn't flee or hide. Shechem becomes infatuated with Dinah. He goes to his father, the regional ruler Hamor, and asks him to arrange a formal legal marriage. Word of the assault reaches Jacob, the patriarch of the tribe. His response is total silence. He makes no demands. He organizes no rescue. He simply waits. That passivity leaves the camp adrift. Without a voice at the top providing moral clarity or physical protection, a leadership vacuum opens up inside the family. When Dinah's brothers return from the fields and learn what happened, they are left to handle it themselves. The father's silence forces the traumatized and raged sons to become the arbiters of justice. Hamor arrives at the Israelite camp with a proposal that shifts the focus from the crime to a permanent alliance. The Canaanite king proposes a total geopolitical merger. The two groups will intermarry, share grazing lands, and freely trade their wealth. This demographic model tracks a total merger. Jacob's single household is surrounded by a populated city-state, so assimilation effectively dissolves their distinct identity. Dinah's brothers Simeon and Levi step into the void, taking control of negotiations to erect a barrier and block the merger. They tell Hamor the deal is only acceptable under one extreme condition. Every male in the Canaanite city must undergo circumcision. Hamor and Shechem pitch this to their city council. To the Canaanites, a few days of physical pain is a small price for access to the Israelites' massive herds and commercial wealth. The men of the city agree, believing they've secured a lucrative alliance. In reality, they have walked into a calculated biological trap designed to exploit their greed. For the Israelites, circumcision is the sacred physical marker of their holy covenant with God. Simeon and Levi take that symbol of divine peace and weaponize it. They use a holy sacrament to physically disable an entire population. On the third day, when surgical pain is at point peak, the two brothers move through the city shadows. They encounter zero resistance. They execute every male in Shechem, strip the city of its wealth, capture the women and children, retrieve Dinah, and walk out. Only now does Jacob finally speak. He looks at Simeon and Levi and complains that they have ruined his reputation among the locals, putting his personal safety in danger. He never addresses the hundreds of dead men or the deceitful weaponization of their faith. His only concern is the fallout for his public standing. The men who protected the family have committed mass murder using a religious rite, while the spiritual leader of the tribe is consumed by his own political interests. The incident at Shechem leaves behind a landscape of moral wreckage. A city is depopulated, a young woman is traumatized, and a sacred covenant is covered in blood. This balance model maps the failure of leadership. On one side is Jacob's inaction, on the other, the brothers' disproportionate vengeance. Neither achieves justice. The brothers believe they delivered justice. Jacob believes he kept peace. But the family's moral foundation collapses under their choices. In their attempt to secure their future, they have fractured the very thing they were trying to protect. The true cost of the massacre doesn't materialize for decades. It is finally recorded at the very end of Jacob's life in Genesis 49. As the patriarch delivers his final blessings, he curses the anger of Simeon and Levi. Because they used a holy sacrament to commit murder, they face a permanent divine judgment. The brothers are stripped of the birthright, the spiritual and material inheritance that would have established them as the future leaders of the tribe. Passive leadership created the vacuum where this vengeance was born. In the end, the brothers found that they could not protect their identity by corrupting the very values that defined it.